Good morning, everybody. My name is Andy Sokolovich. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, and welcome back to another Clinton Region Business Roundtable. We host these every single month on the last Friday of the month, and we try to bring in subject matter experts that speak to what their organization does or how they help grow businesses within the greater Clinton region. And today we're excited to have a representative from Imec, which is Illinois Manufacturing ExcellenceCenter. I got that right, Jeff, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So Illinois Manufacturing ExcellenceCenter exists to help Illinois manufacturers grow, introduce new technologies, and continue to develop themselves to be rock stars within the greater Clinton region. So I had an opportunity to meet with Jeff a few weeks ago. We had a great conversation, and I thought it important that we bring him on the show and introduce our viewers to what Imec has to offer. So Jeff, go ahead and take it away. Thank you so much for joining us.
I will. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and look forward to just kind of giving you an overview of who we are and what we can do and how you can best utilize us. And so if you want to advance that, I'm going to fly through this a little bit because it's recorded and nobody likes death by PowerPoint. So Imec is the Illinois portion of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Now that's at the national level, but each state has a center. Imec happens to be the center for Illinois. You may have heard of Cirrus over Jeff White over in coming out of Iowa State. They're an MEP center as well. Both of us focus on what's in our state, but we work collectively with each other and trade back and forth for multi-state opportunities. This is just we're speckled around the state. We've got a staff of 50. But we also have a partnership network with other engineering companies and specialty companies to serve the needs. Our core purpose is to foster long-term economic and workforce competitiveness. We do work with some of the larger manufacturers above 500 employees. Those tend to have either their own internal resources or they may bring us in if they don't have the bandwidth for some things. But the focus is really on small and medium, and how do we give them the tools and the resources to be competitive, to continue to grow, and to overcome some of the challenges that all of us are seeing at this stage. So if you, next slide, Andy, if you would. So I have the territory, I live in Chadwick, so I'm centrally located. I have the Quad Cities to Princeton, up to Lena really, and then over to Galena. So a lot of manufacturers in that territory. In my background, I've spent most of my career in this territory, either operating divisions, departments, or running companies in the healthcare space, in accounts receivables, services, and also in agricultural production for genetics. So some of that was outside of here in Madison, but most of it's in this area, and I really enjoy being able to serve in my hometown area because these are folks that I've interacted with typically for the last 35 years. Thank you. So a little bit about Imec, you know, as a resource, we kind of hang our hat on how are we helping? You know, this is our grade card back, and these are all client reported impacts, but we really kind of focus on, you know, saving jobs, creating new opportunities. We've assisted over 1,200 companies last year. You know, there's 14,000 manufacturers in Illinois, so we touch a lot more than we help. But the companies assisted are full projects, and we focus on cost savings, job creation, quality improvement, opportunities for new sales from some of that work as well. So think in the terms of a company that needs an ISO quality system. We can help assist in that, and that when they get their certification allows them to work in new opportunities and gain new business. So we look at those impacts and we get graded each year on these, and the return in the past has been 19-to-1 on invested dollars. So we don't just do it as charity. You shouldn't do it because we're part of the system. And you should do it because it makes business sense. And so we want to return that opportunity. And next slide, please. So we touch a lot of areas. Sometimes we serve so many that you kind of get lost in it. but we really kind of hang our hat on in a couple of areas, and I'll go into this a little bit later. We're typically known for our lean manufacturing, teaching and training and implementation, process redesign. That's really what people think of when they think of Imec, at least in the past. But it's become so much more now as we've had to pivot and help people with workforce development, engaging new employees and making sure that you've got processes that keep them, retain the good ones you work so hard to find, develop new leaders, and make your organization cutting edge and differentiating yourself from your competitors. You're not just competing product to product anymore. Now we're all competing for employees, and it's not just in the industrial sector and manufacturing. You're competing against the other industries that also need employees. So it's really important to make your operation one that folks want to come to and not leave. And that involves workforce and leadership, but we also work in customer engagement. A big push for us now is cybersecurity, getting companies ready for if they deal with Department of Defense or government contracts, getting them up to the cybersecurity standards that they're going to need to keep and earn new business in those areas. And in addition, one of the other things that helps meet the workforce challenge is folks are looking at automation. How do I strategically drop in automation to help me become more productive and at the same time help me balance this challenge and meet this challenge of a retiring workforce? It's actually quite frightening. I was talking to a real artisan shop the other day, and they've got 75 employees. 60% of those are over the age of 60. And so they have to put a strategy in for replacement, and it's so much harder in a craftsmanship environment, but it still is something that's necessary. Maybe you can break it down. Maybe you can look at certain areas that you allow the more need for highly trained to work in those areas while you're taking the dull, the dirty, and dull, dirty, and dangerous are three of the areas where you can implement for automation. So we kind of serve them all, and then I'll throw this one out as well. As you build your business, it's the need for numbers, metrics, and costs continue to come up, and so we do help in that ERP space as well, from initial evaluation all the way through implementation. We do a lot of things. Let's move to the next one, and I think some of this will flesh out a little bit. Processes, what are you doing every day to make your operation better, to make it more efficient, to engage your customers and your employees? And it's all about a journey. It isn't just a one and done on partnering with employees or partnering with your customers. It's a real measure every day of what am I doing to make sure I'm ahead of my competition, to make sure I'm keeping what I need to have in place. Let's go on to the next one, Andy. And I have an updated one, but I ran this again yesterday. It's pretty reflective. We've got about 2,600 respondents now. And what we did, we sent this out to the leaders in the organizations in manufacturing in Illinois and said, what are you going to do now? What are these pressing needs right now that are urgent? I got to do this now, or I've got to get this done in the next 6 months. And this was so that we could make sure that we're aligned with the needs and offering those solutions. And sales growth and recovery. We started this in May of 2020, so just 3 months into the pandemic scare, and we saw a lot of business go down and sales orders lost. We since have rebounded a bit, but you can kind of see some things still kind of come through. These 5 areas of growth: workforce productivity, leadership, and safety. Safety was higher early on as operations couldn't open and they needed sanitation, they needed distancing, they needed equipment, they needed the spacing labeling. Safety still remains a high priority, but it's kind of moved down. Supply chain is always one that surprises me, that it's not urgent or priority. And I think it's just the fact that it's so hard right now in supply chain. Everybody's just built into, this is going to take a long time. It's a problem I got to deal with today, but I also need to plan for it in the future. So I think this has a bit of an anomaly, but I did want to share this so that if so you can see what others were responding. And this went out to organizational leaders. It was typically CEOs, CFOs, and chief technology officers. But HR was in there as well. So it just kind of gives you a picture of what everybody else is dealing with too. And I'll just go over this real briefly because we talked through that. But we do focus, we offer some pivot services, both virtually, but typically on site is much better. How do you develop those new leaders? Just because you're a good operator and the organization's in a pinch, you move people up. Very few people have ingrained leadership skills. You typically have to teach, experience, coach through those soft skills of conflict management, of improvement in performance, how to get the job done down through others, especially when you've moved up. And sometimes that supervisor move can be the hardest one because now you're managing your peers. And it can be a real challenge. So we offer coaching and aspiration for aspiring leaders. We also want to tie in the leadership group, make sure everybody's strategically aligned, and it's communicated out, not amongst the leadership team, but also down through the organization. The automation assessments, sometimes we get grant funded on these, and this was one where we actually had 20 opportunities to go in and look at what was possible in organizations. A lot of folks will call us and say, I want to automate, and I know I want to automate in this area, this line, and this discipline. That's great. We can help with that. We can help line up vendors that we've worked with, other MEPs around the nation. But the one that's more popular is the folks that say, I want outside eyes to tell me what's possible. Well, you come in with your engineering experience, and we touch 1,200 in Illinois alone. And so we see a lot of things. And that gives us an advantage to say, okay, well, how does this fit? What's your opportunity? What are your goals? And having that outside look sometimes is very eye-opening. And then if we want to advance on there, and the quality continues to be a high focus for us. We do a lot in the lean space. We can do one and dones where, hey, I want you to teach my people 5S safety and organization, and then get out, which is great. We love to do that. We would like to train the trainer type models. We're not there to be a consulting practice that wants to book, hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, we will come back if you like and reteach when you have a new group, or we can take you on the entire journey of lean. And that's where most of the companies really benefit when they go down that path of excellence. It's similar to, when you go to school, you get a curriculum. You don't just take one class, you're taking classes down through time that advance on and advance your skills. And we certainly offer that as well. We talked a little bit about ERP and cyber already, so we can jump through that. We talked about this already. Andy had asked me what were some of the companies that we had helped in the area, and it's so hard because we can help from a little bit all the way. We can do some simple research and provide that back for companies that, and I can't name the companies, but we've done some simple research. They wanted a new product line, and we can develop white papers. We can produce other subscription information and items that we've been involved with that we can provide on. We can run all the way up to complex ERP systems, evaluation and implementation and project management. We do facility layouts for companies and full design. But we also help with some of the small ones. For instance, when it was about in the spring, funds became available through the CARES Act for companies that needed to not only install equipment in their area to allow them to remain open, but also to help aid in the remote worker challenge. And because we were kind of tuned in, we were able to help 8 companies in that territory with $150,000 in grants that they didn't have to pay back, that allowed them to spool up their remote workers, allowed the existing ones to get some distancing equipment, sanitation, any of the things that they were going to need to remain open. And that was huge because it didn't cost anybody anything. It was there. We just needed to make it available and let you know that it's there. And that's what we want to be. We want to be the people that you eventually pick up the phone and say, here's what I need. Can you help me, or can you point me in the right direction? And to me, that's invaluable. And that's where we like to serve. And that's kind of what keeps me coming back. So that's a real quick overview. What I really wanted to do was kind of hear from you as attendants, address any questions, talk about the things that you're finding, and see if we might not just be able to help, but talk through it collectively so we're all kind of on the same page and we know what the needs are.
So Jeff, I have a quick question. Are there monies available specifically in grant form to help companies with automation and secure new technologies in the state of Illinois?
Yeah, at least through the month of September, we have a funding from a source, it's actually Purdue, that has some money that we're doing what we call iSmart assessments, and that's where we might be able to help if, for instance, a company knows that they want a new line in this and they need help finding vendors. We can do that and use some of those, do that assessment, provide that assistance, and that's at no cost to the customer. The other one is come in and take a look at what's possible. I mean, if you look at it, there's kiosks at McDonald's for a reason, right? It's because they have a need. And those are the kind of thing, I'm not saying we make kiosks, but it's that wide view that says, I look at my organization every day and I feel like I know what it is. And I'm not saying I don't know what's going on, but I want to see what else is possible. And, robotics is obviously very heavy. It doesn't fit in all places, but there's more to automation than just robotics as well. So, it could be sensor technology, it could be Internet of Things, it could be utilizing the data sources that you have and gathering for instant metrics. So there's a lot of ways that automation can fit, and that we do have some funding available for that. We think it's going to be extended because it's such a popular service, but at this point in time, we've got a few more to get in by September 30th. So if anybody's interested, we'll be happy to talk through that.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, just to give you guys a rig and have you come in and sit down and have a conversation. I mean, don't leave money on the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see Connie Dell had joined us. Connie, welcome. Connie is from LK Manufacturing.
Hi, Connie.
Hello. Yeah, I will share. We are using Imec for some leadership development training and some one-on-one coaching for some of our leaders, and just started the program probably 2 months ago. Feedback that I am getting is going very well. So happy to report that out. One thing on one of the slides that you had shared was safety and emergency preparedness. And I guess maybe wanted to see, what companies have used for that. I know one of the things that we want to do that we have not done yet is some kind of a drill, similar to Alice training that the schools utilize, but that is something that we would like to do at some point that we have not done. We've done some internal drills, but to have an outside source come in and do a drill for us would be very beneficial for our team members.
Okay. Both plants?
All three, actually.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to run that down for you and see what we can find to help you out on that. That's new. I've not had that request before, but I used to do part of my role as a corporate leader was to develop disaster plan and contingencies. And you usually think about data until you get into tornado season and outside influences. So, yeah, that's good.
We work through contingency plans and and have guidelines laid out, but it's always that being able to drill it from an outside source that really tests those procedures.
We almost had it the other day. We had all those microbursts up here and the cornfields are flat. So
right.
Great. yeah, I can get back to the entire group on that as well.
Yeah. Jeff, another question I have is around apprenticeships. This is something we continue to push on both sides of the river. How does Imec assist companies with establishing apprenticeships? I know I've worked with some of your partners there in the Department of Labor. What does that process look like?
Great question, because that is one of the long-term answers as well. Grow your own, basically. So while there are apprenticeships available on both sides of the river, we work specifically and Best. I don't know if Best Inc. is the navigator for the apprenticeship programs. So what we can do is connect anybody with them, and they really manage the process through the Department of Labor frameworks. The nice thing about now in the apprenticeship program is those frameworks can be customized by the company and just have to receive approval from Department of Labor. So if you have something, for instance, I've got a company that's doing 2 gunsmith apprenticeships, and it's specifically to their area. And I thought, boy, I didn't think that one would fly. Now, just because I don't know at the state level if they're open to that, and they're not open to cannabis and hemp production at all. There's no funding for training or for apprenticeships. But in this particular case, the operation said, I'm going to teach and train the skills for gunsmiths. There is one at the Department of Labor. It's approved, and then they approve the customized one as well. So we get the interest at the company level, and then we'll hand that over to the navigator within the Best organization, and it's up to them to remain in communication on that. We help in any way, but they really are the other driving point on that.
Perfect. Thank you. Connie, I apologize for my ignorance, but do you guys have an apprenticeship program established at LK?
We do not currently. We have talked to Best Inc. about doing that for some of our welding jobs. We have utilized them for some funding for just some welding certifications, but not a true apprenticeship program.
Yeah. Here, I'll toot my own horn here. Locally, we've established one through Clinton High School, a DOL registered welding apprenticeship program. And we actually last year has established a partnership with the Riverbend School District to include Fulton. So now students from Fulton are coming over to Clinton. I'm always looking for manufacturers to participate as business partners in those programs. So do let me know if you ever get to a point where you want to bring in a student. You guys are not that far away for somebody to make a travel half day through the work or through the school day and actually put a torch to metal. They would love to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's key within the high schools and capturing that interest, but also think about that this apprenticeship is now wider than that. It could be for existing employees. It could be, within your organization, I want to build somebody up. And it's great for development path because it hooks and it gives you a vested interest in the organization as well, knowing that they've invested in you. So it's, you're not going to solve your problem that way, but it sure helps. And especially as you lose folks who are talented and they're passing you that you're not losing that knowledge if you start those early enough and can intermingle them within the organization too, because some of those apprenticeship programs do on-the-job training, and then you can create your own. So,
absolutely. Is there any other questions that we have for Jeff while he's here? I mean, I know we have used Cirrus over here in the on the Iowa side. Imec's a great resource on the Illinois side. I strongly encourage all Illinois companies really to contact Jeff and have that initial conversation, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the first time you walk in the door and you sit down with the company leader, there's no charge, correct?
Oh yeah, no. And actually, let's see what you want to accomplish. And we're like any other firm, that'd be silly. So, but actually the hardest part is finding time, because people are strapped and you've got 10,000 things to do, and you meant to empty the swamp, but now you're up in alligators and you forgot why you got in there. So it's really carving out the time to say, look, I know I need some help, or my people need some help, or this is where I want to go. Absolutely no charge in that. We'll develop a program if it's something that you want, and then it's time and materials at that point in time. But Happy to help in a lot of things. And I should just mention, every once in a while, we'll do some things. We had a Move Ahead Faster initiative where we funded it over in my area here, that territory, over 30 cybersecurity assessments at no cost. The value of those is $5,000 a piece, you know, and we didn't do it. We had to hire in a third party to do that, but we felt that that was part of the initiative that would help the area and help the growth. So, yeah, by any means, we want. The nice thing is you can pick up the phone and say, look, I don't know what I want, but can we talk through this? Sure. And then we can either solidify where, you know, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I was thinking, or nope, I want to go in this direction. Who do you have to help? And
now, Jeff, do you also serve as the government procurement professional as well? I mean, do you help companies establish the ability to deal with the United States government on a contract basis?
I can point people to a great source. Steve Zalo is on the SBA representative in Rock Island. I met him when he first came on the chamber, and I should mention that I'm going to put a bookmark in that. We also work with the chamber's economic development partners, local colleges. I don't want to forget that plug. But the Quad City Chambers did an article on Steve, and the title of the article was "There's a Gold Mine in the Quad Cities." Well, what does this mean? He has so much work even in the Quad City area that there are not enough contractors, and we're in the Quad City area, that folks have either they don't have a GSA number, or they didn't get their cage number, or they wrote the encyclopedia on their keywords, which nobody pays attention to, or they narrowed their keywords down so much. So think of a search engine that if you don't have the right language to capture people, and he said, I'll sit down with anybody. And I probably referred 20 companies over to him, who he sat down with for 2 hours, helped them develop their profile to where they could achieve business. And I would encourage anybody who isn't already in that system, or even if you are, to get it refined. And I can give you that contact, because Steve said he had to go to Des Moines to find somebody to mow the lawns, because the locals weren't registered to do that business. And so, you know, that's added time, money. It's just, and he said that's just one example of many. So great question. Put you in touch, and I've done it with a number of folks.
Connie, does LK do anything with government contracting? I'm assuming in the water fountain industry, you probably would.
We do not at this point.
Every good military installation needs a great water fountain. I can tell you that much. So, Steve, you're on the line. Do you have any questions for Jeff before we close this up?
No, I was just trying to get the latest. We've worked with Imec for the last couple of years. I do want to say hello to Connie. We worked together for a couple of years as well. So
Hello, Steve.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for your time. I'm going to, again, this has been a recorded session. We'll blast this out to our Illinois partners. I have your contact information. I will share that with the masses. And please keep in touch. Let me know if there's anything we can do here at the Clinton Regional Development Corporation to make your life easier.
Absolutely. It's a great connection, and we want to help. So thank you all. Enjoy the upcoming weekend. But yeah, if you've got anything as far as questions or anything for refinement, give me a call.
Perfect. Well, everybody, my name is Andy Sokolovich. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development here at the Clinton Regional Development Corporation. As Jeff said, have a great weekend. Thanks again for joining us. We'll talk to you guys later, okay?